Welcome to the session. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is career development in VUCA world. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment just to welcome all of you, So let me welcome. Um, so I'm going to take your names and I hope I pronounce them well. Sheikh, Ruth, Maria, Corinne, Kay, Carrie, France, Serene, Ser, Henry is joining, and I welcome each one of you. And it will be very nice if you can turn on your video, if it is possible for you, so that I can see you and it will be a more interactive session. That's a request at my end. And if it is not possible for you to turn on your video, that's okay. I can understand. And Kay, I was just listening into you. I joined a few minutes before the session and I listened the last part, but it was very interesting. So I'm going to take the cue from the previous session and start this session today. And first of all, let me thank the organization for organizing such a wonderful event and giving me this opportunity to present. And keeping time in view, I'm going to start my presentation. At any point in time, if you have a question, as Cherry mentioned, you can put that in the Q&A section so that Cherry can look at the question, and at an appropriate time, we will bring up the question. Is that okay with everyone? Perfect. Thank you so much. And welcome, Felicity. I think you just joined. So good to see all of you here. Okay, so the topic is career development in VUCA world. Now, let me first check. How many of you have heard this term VUCA? It became popular a few years back and it is still very popular to describe. I got it. So raise your Zoom hand if you have heard this term. Raise your Zoom hand. I'm just checking across the room. So some of you are aware of this term and maybe some of you are not aware of this term. Do not worry. I will talk about what this term means and in the context of the session today. And Jerry, one request that I have for you from my side is that keep a check on time, because as I am speaking and as I am presenting, I may lose track of time, but please keep me on track in terms of time. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get started with the session. So I'm going to skip the introduction part because Cherry has already introduced me, and I will straight away go to the presentation outline. So what we are going to talk about today, what I'm going to present to you today in this session, is the challenges the world is facing today, the impact on businesses, because when we talk about careers, job market, and career development, we have to look at what is the state of the world that we are living in and what are the challenges that the world is facing today. What are the impacts on businesses? What are the impacts on job markets eventually? And what are the impacts on careers that working professionals have? And then we will talk about the VUCA world. In fact, we know it or not, but we are actually living in a VUCA world. And we will talk more about what VUCA means and what are the elements of the VUCA world as part of the presentation. We will look at the impact on job markets and careers, especially because that's going to be the central topic of the presentation today. What is the impact of increasing competition? That is another angle or another factor which is affecting the careers today. We will also look at what does a professional of today want across the globe. And here in this particular presentation and in this particular event, I see that we have a global audience. So we will hear, I will at that point in time open up the forum to hear from you as well, that what do you want as a professional? And maybe many of you or some of you are career coaches in this forum and in this session today. So I would like to hear from you as well, that what you are seeing in terms of your clients looking for. Then we will look at how to make career VUCA proof. VUCA can present a challenge to the careers and to the world and businesses at large, but is there a way to tackle that? Is there a way to overcome those challenges that the VUCA poses to us? Then we will talk about the ultimate solution. And applications of the solution. And then with final thoughts, we will close the presentation, but not before we do the Q&A session at the end. Yes. So I hope that outline sounds good to you. All right. Now let's talk about the biggest challenges the world is facing today. Here, I have listed a few of them, but not all of them. Like, first of all, what comes to my mind when we talk about the challenges, the public health crisis that we had in 2020, 2021, and even some part of 2022. And even today, there are COVID outbreaks which are happening across the globe. So 2 years of time, more than 2 years of time, we had a huge impact because of the global pandemic, COVID, and it impacted the entire globe. It impacted the entire globe. Not a single country was spared in this particular pandemic. And unfortunate event for the world. Many people lost their lives. Many industries got impacted. Many lives got impacted. Many jobs were lost. We are going to look at the statistics of the impact of COVID. And maybe you already know that. But here we are talking about one of the challenges that the world faces is public health crisis. The second challenge, global warming. I think all of us know this, that the world is going through that crisis right now. And for the last many years, the global warming effect, the climate change that is happening, the weather patterns have changed. I live in Pune, in India. And Pune used to be a very cool place 20, 25 years ago when I moved to this city, but not any longer. Right now, where I am sitting, right now it is around 9:30, 9:40 in the morning, and it's already hot. Of course, this is summer here, but the weather pattern has changed a lot. Even winters have become less colder. The monsoon patterns have changed, and you can look at it in your part of the world where you live. Do you see weather patterns changing? Do you see the weather has changed? Do you see that some patterns about the temperatures have changed? So global warming is real, and we see the impacts of that across the world. We are seeing that there are cyclones which are happening. We are seeing that there are floods which are happening, or there are places where there is no rain when the rain is expected. So droughts are happening. So these are all effects of global warming. And how can we forget about the ocean's level rising? All the coastal countries and cities of the world, they are under the threat of rising ocean levels. Just a couple of weeks back, I visited Singapore with my family on vacation. And obviously Singapore, is a coastal city state. And you can imagine that for all the places which are on the coast, like Mumbai, I mean, Mumbai from my place is not very far, hardly 160 kilometers from here. We can imagine that if the ocean's level continue to rise, what will happen to the coastal cities? And that is the effect of global warming that we have. Of course, the next challenge that the world is facing, and all of us know that, and all of us get impacted because of that in some way or the other, is the political instability and conflicts which are happening in the world at various places. I will not name the countries and I will not name the geographies, to keep in view the sensitivities around that. But you know what I'm talking about, the wars which are happening, which have impacts on the economies, which have impacts on people's lives, and which have impacts because of it has economic impact. Obviously, it is going to have an impact on businesses. It's going to have an impact on careers. Right now, I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. So if any of you are on unmuted, can I request you to go on mute, please? So that we don't hear the background noise from your end. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Then economic challenges. So political instability and conflicts, I think we are all aware of, and how they impact economies and how they impact businesses. That is another big challenge the world is facing today. Economic challenges. We all hear about the recession news that's coming up for the last so many months now in the US, in some of the European countries. And because of that, the impact it has on the businesses, the impact it has on the jobs, We have been hearing that the global organizations such as Facebook and so many others, Twitter, for example, have been laying off hundreds and thousands of people are losing their jobs. So economic recessions and the economical challenges the countries face, definitely it results into job losses and people, losing their livelihood. So though that is also another big challenge that is happening. And another aspect which is true in today's world is the globalization. Many years ago, let's say 50 years ago or 100 years ago, the world was not globalized. The world was not as connected as it is today. So if something happened in one country, it did not impact other countries so much. But today, if something happens in the US, it has an impact on the world. Something happens in China, it has an impact on the world. Something happens in India, it has an impact on the larger scale. And so is true for Australia and European countries and all of those countries that I'm talking about. Even Middle East, something happens, right? Oil prices go up, they go down, and it has an impact on the entire world economies and businesses, all of that. So we are actually living in a global village. And today, it is a great example of we are actually connecting from different parts of the world, but we are here today on a single forum. We are communicating with each other. We are together in one room virtually. So that has its advantages in terms of the technology, but it has, on the other side, has its own disadvantages also, that because it is a connected world, something bad happens in one part of the world, it impacts the other part of the world as well. Yeah. All right. Environmental degradation that is happening because of the increasing industrialization, because of the deforestation that is happening, the environment is getting impacted. And we see that, the rivers drying up, the, the icebergs melting, all of those impacts are happening. Deforestation happening, many of the animals becoming extinct from this planet. For example, in India, there were animals like cheetahs, right? The fastest animal on the planet. But, we lost that. The cheetahs got extinct from India, and then we had to import cheetahs from other parts of the world. I visited, large jungles in India about 6 months back. And what we got to know from the forest rangers is that many species which were present 20 years ago, 30 years ago, many of those species of animals and birds are becoming extinct today. That is the sorry state of the world that we are living in. See, right now I'm talking about all the negative points. Are you will ask me, Hemant, do you mean that all the bad things are happening in the world and not all the no good things are happening in the world? No, good things are also happening in the world. But right now we are talking about the biggest challenges the world is facing. So that's why we are talking about these things in the context of that. There are also good things happening, technology improving, and we will talk about that as part of the later part of the presentation. So having talked about the biggest challenges the world is facing, let's look at the impact on businesses and economies. Economic disruptions are happening. Because of COVID, many industries got wiped out. Many industries got impacted. Many millions of people lost jobs. Markets became volatile. The supply chain management or the supply chains across the world got impacted because many ports were closed because of the COVID pandemic. So we saw an impact on supply chain. Prices of some of the commodities went up. Some of the supply chains got impacted, shut down, and the supply of those materials was not reaching the world. Reduced productivity. Obviously, because of COVID, many companies had to shut down their offices, physical offices. Many people started working from home, working remotely, and it was a very big change that came very suddenly. Like I remember in India, on a certain day on 2020, I think it was the month of March or April of 2020, when it was announced by the government of India that there is going to be a lockdown. It was a sudden news that everything is going to lock down. We cannot move out of the home, and we will be at home. The work got impacted. Luckily for me, my work is mostly virtual. I work from home, so there was not much of an impact. For many of my friends, many of my colleagues, for many of my neighbors and family members, that was not the case. And they were actually working from offices and they got impacted because of that. And obviously it resulted into reduced productivity, increased costs, right? So the impact of the environmental challenges is going to be there on increased costs. The different challenges that the world is facing today is going to lead to increased cost. For example, increased cost of healthcare. We saw that during the COVID times, during the pandemic, that hospitals were full, right? Hundreds of thousands of people got admitted to hospitals. The cost of healthcare went up like anything. And, that had an impact on businesses, that had an impact on economies of the world also. Because of COVID, you would have seen that the purchase power of the consumers went down. The travel industry, the tourism got completely shut down because you were not allowed to travel from one country to another. So that impacted a lot of businesses which are dependent on tourism. So these are all the impacts which are real and which we all know about. But I am bringing it up in the context of the VUCA world. The changing market demands and consumer behaviors. Now, because of the awareness about the sustainability, we all care about the planet because this is the only planet that we have. As they say, right, there is no plan B. There is only one planet that we have where we live. And there is no other planet that we know of today where we can go and live. We cannot shift from this planet, right? So because of that, people are becoming more and more aware of the sustainable practices in businesses. There is a lot of emphasis, for example, in India, to reduce the plastic usage. There is a lot of emphasis on reuse, recycle, and reduce the use of plastics and other non-degradable materials. So there are changing market demands. So when I go to the market and I want to buy something, I will definitely try to choose a product which is more environmental friendly. If I see something, the same product is in a, let's say, a paper packaging or an environmental friendly packaging, there is a high probability that I will buy that product as compared to another product which is packaged in such a way that that is not environment friendly. So the consumer behavior is also changing. We are looking at we are expecting businesses to be environment friendly and have sustainability practices. Even the governments are trying to bring up the policies, guidelines, and regulations to ensure that businesses are sticking to and adhering to the environmental norms. So all those are having impacts on businesses. Now, although these practices are good for the planet, for the businesses, it is an increased cost, and they have to change to make sure that they're adhering to these environment-friendly policies. There is also workforce and talent management impact on businesses. Now that we have become a globalized world, the talent is available everywhere, which is a good news, but which also has an impact on how the careers shape up for people in different parts of the country. So there is also that supply demand dynamics which is changing, right? So these are the different impacts on businesses and economies. Some impacts are negative in nature and some impacts are positive in nature, or at least positive from the long-term perspective. But definitely there are impacts on businesses that we cannot deny. Now, let me put an example of COVID. And to make it real in terms of numbers, I have put this slide. See, impact of COVID on jobs. So if you look at the different statistics which are available, which are published by global organizations such as ILO, which is International Labour Organization. According to ILO, global working hours declined by almost 9% in 2020 compared to the fourth quarter of 2019, which is just before COVID, which is equivalent to 255 million full-time jobs. Now, can you imagine that? Yes, the International Monetary Fund, which is IMF, estimated that COVID-19 pandemic led to 3.5% decline in global employment in 2020 itself. We are not even talking about 21. 22 and later, we are talking about the impact in 2020 itself, equivalent to approximately 114 million jobs. So here we are talking about 100 million, 200 million jobs being lost, or that productivity lost. United Nations Development Program, they estimated about the same number of jobs being lost. 255 million full-time jobs were lost globally in 2020 due to pandemic. So those impacts. Now I am aware of many of my friends who lost their jobs during pandemic, and it was not a very good situation for them. It was very hard to find a job during pandemic. Many companies in India, in fact, had actually put a freeze, on recruitment. So that was an impact in terms of numbers, if we see, and definitely, which is a very, very big impact. So here we are talking about the impact in terms of jobs, impact in terms of careers, impact in terms of even lifestyle. Now, many people did not have the right set of environment to work from home, and they had no choice but to work from home because the offices were shut down. So even that impact is there. And many people did not have the right environment, the right equipment to work from home, and it also had an impact on their jobs. It had an impact on their productivity. So this is such a huge impact that we are talking about just because of one black swan event, as it is called, the COVID pandemic. And why I am presenting this data to you, because I wanted to make a point about VUCA. What is VUCA then? VUCA is an acronym for volatility that we are experiencing in the world today. Volatility means things going up and down, the markets going up and down, the businesses going up and down, the economies going through recession cycles. All of that gives rise to volatility. Then uncertainty. The U stands for uncertainty. There is uncertainty. When the global pandemic started, in the second quarter of 2020, in fact, it started much before in China. I think it started at the end of 2019 in China, where the breakout happened. But it came to and it reached to other parts of the world in the next few months. For example, it reached India in a few months after that. There was a lot of uncertainty about what is going to happen. When is this going to end? There was not even a solution to that problem at that point in time. Later on, the pharmaceutical companies came up with the vaccinations and all of that. But when it started, we had no idea. There were no ready-made medicines available for that. There was a lot of uncertainty about how it is going to impact businesses, how it is going to impact the supply chain, how it is going to impact healthcare, how it is going to impact the productivity, how it is going to impact the demand in the market, the supply chain, the demand supply dynamics. There was a lot of uncertainty around that. We did not know when it is going to end. There was a lot of fear and anxiety about the food scarcity that happened. So there was a lot of anxiety, uncertainty around that. And same is this situation when we talk about a geopolitical conflict or a war. Same kind of volatility is brought up because of those kind of events, right? The wars and conflicts which are going on in the world, unfortunately, give rise to volatility. It gives rise to uncertainty. The oil prices fluctuating and all of that. It gives rise to complexity. Also, the things become much more complex. Things have become interconnected. We spoke about the globalization of the world. So one thing happening, one event happening in one part of the world has an impact on the other side. Because if you see large global organizations, they are now operating from various countries. Now, the large global organizations, and many of us maybe are associated with those or have been part of those, or we work for those clients, we know that kind of complexity arises out of multiple things. One is the global nature of businesses today, right? Also, in terms of trading, in terms of imports and export, we are all dependent on each other in terms of countries. Like, for example, as I mentioned to you that I visited Singapore a couple of weeks ago. Now, what I understand is that a lot of things Singapore imports from other countries, and it is one of the biggest trading ports in the world. But Singapore as a city state or a nation, if we see, or as a country, they import a lot of things, and so is true for every country. I'm just taking that as an example. India, for example, imports a lot of things which we cannot produce here, and we export a lot of things which other countries need. They also get impacted, and that leads to complexity. Imagine supply chain getting interrupted or getting broken down because of war, because of pandemic, and because of other reasons, or because of a natural calamity, right? How it actually gives rise to complexity. Then the ambiguity, it gives rise to ambiguity, right? Which way to take, which way to go, what is the right solution for this? Again, the example that comes to mind is pandemic, right? Nobody knew what is the right way to go about it, how we should strategize the business, right, during this whirling times, right? This very, very complex times, very, very uncertain times. It gives rise to a lot of ambiguity. So that is what VUCA stands for. Take a moment to understand the elements of VUCA: the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. All right. So I'm doing a quick time check now. I think I have taken 30 minutes. Okay. So factors causing VUCA. So factors causing VUCA, the technological advancements that we all talk about, right? The artificial intelligence, blockchain, automation, all of that. Again, these factors are not an exhaustive list, but I have talked about some examples of factors causing VUCA. VUCA is caused by many things. We spoke about public health crisis events such as COVID-19 pandemic, political instability and conflicts, but also technological advancement cause VUCA, right? Because we hear about this, and there are a lot of research and statistics available on how AI is going to impact the world, how AI is going to impact businesses, how AI is going to impact the jobs. Because what I heard recently is that because of AI, 3Ds or three types of jobs are going to get impacted, and those jobs are called 3D jobs. What those 3Ds stand for: AI is going to take away all the dirty jobs, the dull jobs, and the dangerous jobs. So 3Ds are definitely going to get impacted: the dirty jobs, the dangerous jobs, and the dull jobs, which are monotonous, boring kind of jobs, which are definitely going to get impacted. So that we are already seeing happening. Also, the factor which is causing VUCA is the environmental challenges, the climate change, natural disasters, and resource scarcity. So these are the factors causing VUCA. Now, what is the impact on job markets and careers? Because this is what is close to our heart in the context of this session. There are industry shifts happening because of automation, for example, right? There are many industries which are going to get out of date. Now, when the technology advancements happen, many companies get obsolete, they become redundant. The very famous example of Kodak was a very, very well-known company. They were the top player when it came to the cameras, the film cameras, right? But when the digital cameras came up, and they could not pick up that trend, and they became obsolete and redundant, they become bankrupt in some years' time. And that is an example that I think everybody knows about, but it is an example which is very pertinent to talk about, that industry shifts which are happening, company shifts which are happening because of technology and because of other factors that we spoke about. The skills and talent demand. As the world is changing, new skills are required to be built. As the businesses are changing, as the trends are changing, new skills that need to be built. And now we need to have AI skills. I'm sure all of you have heard about ChatGPT, and I'm sure many of you would have tried ChatGPT, how it can help you as a professional. And we need to develop those skills. We need to learn how to use ChatGPT, how to make use of that tool in a good way. We are all learning digital skills. Now, during COVID times, we all started working digitally. So we had to learn Zoom. So we are connected on Zoom today. So we learned Zoom, we learned many other digital platforms, and all of that. So those skills have to be learned by the working professionals, and that is the important part to survive in a working place. The remote work and digital skills we already spoke about. Entrepreneurship and innovation has become the new trend in the global workforce. I'm sure all of you would have seen that. It was already pertinent in the developed nations, but it is also becoming a very, very strong trend in developing countries like India and others. Entrepreneurship. So in the last 10 years, I'm seeing that the world of work, the world of work is actually undergoing a sea change, a significant change, where a lot of people want to start their own companies. They want to start their startups, or they want to be self-employed. Many of them were into 9 to 5 jobs for many, many years, including myself. But now many of them want to start on their own, and they want to take charge of their career and innovation, social impact, and also purpose driven careers. I'm going to talk about purpose driven careers in a moment. So social impact has also become important because the new generation, and in fact, why only new generation? All of us realize the social impact of the work that we do, especially in the coaching field, in the career counseling field, in the career guidance field. We create a huge social impact through the work that we do. So people are becoming more and more aware of what is the impact their work is causing, and they are moving towards that slowly but surely. There is also increased competition in the job market. So that is also another angle to the careers and job markets across the world. There are rising education levels. Now education is available online. All the well-known universities in the world, like Harvard, Cambridge, and all of those, right? They are now offering online courses. So education levels across the globe are rising. Education is easily available. The barriers to education are coming down. Globalization and remote work is also causing the competition to rise, because now you can source talent from across the world. Economic uncertainty and job insecurity, obviously, we talked about that. Competitive business environment. Businesses have become more competitive. There is increased competition globally, because earlier, for example, in India, there were certain set of industries and certain set of companies. They were competing amongst each other, only the Indian companies. But now the world has opened up. Now there are so many foreign companies which have come to India, and now you have to actually compete with the entire world. So businesses have to be more competitive, and that increases pressure on the job market, because all companies want to be cost effective, right? Then the gig economy, the changing skill requirements. We spoke about that. Digital skills have become important. You have to learn the new technology skills. You have to learn new business skills also. The gig economy and freelancing has increased the competition in the job market. Earlier, if you could hire a consultant for, let's say, hundreds of thousands of dollars, now today that kind of a consultant may be available across the globe at 1/10 of that cost, because now the consultants across the globe are available to you on platforms like Upwork and so many others, right? Internet has made it available. It has made it as a level ground, right? So gig economy and freelancing is also creating increased competition in job market. Automation and AI, we spoke about the impact of that. Now, let's look at, what do professionals want today? What do professionals want? Now, earlier we spoke about the challenges of the world, the impact it has on businesses. We looked at what is VUCA, how it is impacting the businesses, the increased competition. We looked at all those aspects. Let us look at our own selves, that what do we want as professionals? If we put ourselves into a professional's shoes, we want meaning, we want learning and growth, we want work-life balance, recognition, good money, meaning and purpose at work, secure future. And there are also elements that we don't want in our work, such as monotonous work, boring work, stagnation, no progress, thankless job, no monetary growth. Nobody wants that, right? We all want to grow, all want to earn more money through the meaningful work that we do. Toxic work environment, nobody obviously wants that. Stressful work environment and job insecurity. So there is, for every professional today, and in the last 8+ years, I have worked with thousands of professionals across the world. In fact, I have worked with clients from more than 15 countries now. So I know that this wants list is kind of similar, right? There is a pattern to that, right? All of us want things which are there on the left side of the slide, which are with a green, and the reds, that things that we don't want. And how do we achieve that? How do we achieve that? The question is that how do we achieve things that we want, and how do we move away from the things that we don't want? How to make our career VUCA proof? How to make careers VUCA proof? How to tackle VUCA? Now, we looked at VUCA, right? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What is the antidote to VUCA? And look at it in the context of careers today. If there is volatility, how do we tackle that? Create a vision for your career, who you are as a professional. What do you want to do? What kind of impact you want to create in the world? What kind of talents and gifts that you want to share with the world? What kind of work you want to do? Create a vision for that. Also, anticipate issues and shape conditions. But start with a vision of your life and career. That is also another angle to vision. Then uncertainty, how do we tackle that? Through understanding. Know yourself, understand yourself, know your talents, know your strengths, know your skills, know your values. Create an understanding about yourself. I say this, that know yourself to grow yourself. So create an understanding about yourself. In other words, it is also called as enhanced levels of self-awareness. Also understand the consequences and issues when it comes to the business side of it. The complexity part. How do we tackle the complexity part? Through clarity. Through clarity. In the context of a career, be clear about what you want to do, why you want to do that, how you want to do that, what are the motivations and drivers, what is your level of commitment about doing something, what kind of career you want to pursue, what kind of roles you want to play, what kind of contribution you want to make in the world, what kind of value you want to create in the world. All of those, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Because now freedom and flexibility have become important values for today's professionals, right? So how do you create a lifestyle like that while you're doing the work? So clarity, finding that coherence about what you want in your career and how do you want to get there, aligning, expectations, responsibilities, all of that. So that is the antidote to complexity is clarity. Then ambiguity. How do you tackle ambiguity? Through agility. Things are changing very fast, so you have to keep moving very fast. When what I mean by moving fast is not mindless moving fast. I'm talking about adaptation. I'm talking about adapting to the changing conditions of the world. Like during COVID times, we adapted to certain type of a lifestyle. We adapted at work by started working more virtually. We developed the technology skills. We developed the digital skills. We adapted certain social norms to make sure that we are safe when we are in a group of people. We started using masks and things like that. So we started adapting. So that kind of adaptation is also what I mean by agility. Now, how do we create a purpose-driven career using these 4 elements? Now, what is a purpose-driven career? So let me give you some elements to this, right? First of all, it is a career that is designed. Now, gone are those days when you start working with a company and you retire from a company. Maybe in some parts of the world that may be still true, but I think in most parts of the world, and definitely true in India, that people change careers, people change jobs multiple times during their lifetime. My father worked in a single company for 30 years. My mother, she worked with Central Railways of India for 30 years. One organization. Now, can we expect that from a younger professional today, that they work with a single organization for 30 years? It may happen. Sorry about that. That may still happen, but those cases are very rare because younger professionals, and in fact, all of us for that matter, are very purpose driven now. So design a career which is after considering your core values, passions, beliefs, talents, and gifts. Also, Designing a purpose-driven career involves identifying and engaging in work that resonates with you personally. It has to be meaningful and fulfilling. Make a positive impact. It's not only about earning money anymore, right? Everybody may be a generalization, but most people that I talk to, they have started asking this question, that what is the meaning of this job? What is the impact that I am creating? What is the contribution I am making in today's world? Can I solve some of the world's problems? And many of the high performing clients that I work with, they talk about this point as a central point in designing their careers. The sense of meaning and fulfillment has become very, very important, and balancing personal and professional goals has become very important. I remember my father used to be away. He worked in a construction company. He used to be away for 6 months. He used to be working at remote locations, right? And I remember that he used to come home after many months after completing a project, right? And that was his choice. And I will also, tell you this, that he did not have many career choices at that point in time. Today's professional has many, many career choices. So what they want to do, and including myself, we want to balance personal and professional goals. We want to earn money. We also want to create an impact, but at the same time, we want to balance that professionally. Now, Jim Collins has said that it is impossible to have a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. So how do we do that? So I'm going to skip that part and come to the secret of creating a purpose-driven career. The secret of purpose-driven career is the inside-out approach, not the outside-in approach, the inside-out approach. What is the inside-out approach? Which is inward focus, own choices, intuitive in nature, create your own career choices, lead your career, not follow somebody. Don't follow the peers, don't follow the herd, but create something that is your own unique design. Be responsible for your career. No, organizations are no longer responsible for your career success and satisfaction at work. You are responsible and purpose focused. Whereas outside in work the exact opposite way. It had an outward focus, comparison based, peer comparison based, competitive, copying. You're doing something that is hot in the market. You're following the trend. You're not looking inside, but you're looking outside, that what my peers are doing, how much money they are getting, all of that. But inside out is different, that it is making your own choice. And how do you do that? I have called this as career transformation jigsaw puzzle. Consider this as a jigsaw puzzle. When you're designing your career, if you want to survive and thrive in the VUCA world today, then this is the solution, the ultimate solution that I was talking about. The career transformation jigsaw puzzle, which takes into consideration the 9 elements of your life to design your career. The first of all, career journey, your experience, your skills that you have, the values, things which are important for you, strengths that you have naturally inherent to you, which excite you to work. Also your achievements. What are your success factors? What is your personality? What are your passions? Things that you're interested in, things that you're excited about, and also your needs, the practical needs. And based on all of that, create your vision of your career. Now, this method, what makes this method unique? It is client-centered and client-driven. It is data-informed approach to career coaching or career design, 360-degree view of the person. And it is based on reflective exercises. It includes some assessments which are psychometric tests, it includes intrinsic and extrinsic motivation factors. And most of these assignments and assessments are reflective in nature and help not only in career design, but also in life design. So I think I will pause at this juncture. And the next part was actually about applying the inside out model, but I'll take a pause at this juncture and check with Cherry if I have a few more minutes or the time is up.
Yeah, we can give you the last 3 minutes, and
All right.
maybe the last 2 minutes later. I have only there one question in the chat box to wrap
All right.
everything. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cherry. So what I will do is that I will go. So this particular model is based on the possibility thinking principle. Yes. and it has got, multiple assessments. But let me come to this part, the purpose driven career, where you see the four circles interacting or intersecting rather. This is called a Venn diagram. When you look at this, if you design your career for the things that you love, things that you're great at, the world needs it and you are paid for it, then the intersection of all of that will give you the purpose, a career with purpose which is sustainable, which will make you happy, and which will also help you get the satisfaction and the prosperity that you're looking for in your career. I'll just talk about one application of the inside out model. It can be applied at many situations: career clarity, career growth, career transition. But I'll just show this and then I will take a pause. So applying the IO model to career transition, you can learn. If you're looking at career transition, for example, then you can learn from your career journey, identify your most valuable skills, identify your strengths, reflect on personal values, explore your passion, know your personality, and based on that, you can make a choice about preparing for a new career. Then you can do the research and exploration, networking, developing new skills, but you are basing that on the data that you have gathered about yourself. I call that as self-awareness. And then you can create a transition plan and timelines. And those are my final thoughts on the presentation, that to survive and thrive in VUCA world, you have to take the inside out approach and not the outside in approach, because this is going to lead to a fulfilling career. And I call that as a happy and successful career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hammond. So thank you for giving in the context of career development, the VUCA. It's been a while, but of course, in the corporate setting, we hear a lot of this, but in the context of career development, it's not only for us to become future-proof career professionals, but of course, our clients this year and in the years to come. So congratulations for that work. And would like to, we have only 1 year for us to
Sure.
wrap up our session. So
Sure.
I hope Sam will give us 2 minutes for this. So we have 2 minutes to do this one. Are you finding that the global challenges are impacting on your clients emotionally, psychologically, or are they trying to carry on as always? So a very interesting
Hmm.
question. Go ahead.
Very interesting question. Very interesting question. So yes, global challenges are impacting clients in multiple ways, and including emotional impact, including psychological impact, and of course the impact on the practical reality of the work. So emotionally and psychologically also it is impacting, because I'll again take the example of COVID, for example. It's a global challenge, right? It's a global pandemic. It created such a situation for people that, many people could not move out of the house. Some people unfortunately lost their loved ones. Also it impacted their careers. Some companies got shut down. I know that many restaurants in my local area, they got shut down. Many travel companies got shut down because travel stopped. Those people lost their jobs, and some of those people came to me and we had a conversation. uh, they had an emotional impact, first because of the anxiety the global pandemic has caused, and also on the work front because some of them lost their jobs, some of them had to take a pay cut, some of them the businesses got shut down. So it had an emotional impact, it had a psychological impact as well, and including the financial impact, which was pretty significant.
So thank you, Herman. We're actually very generous to have this last 1 minute. Thank you, everyone. Just you can go back later with the presentation of Herman and just copy all this the link and everything, and we'll keep continue message him directly. And thank you so much, participants in Tam, for your accommodation today. Again, thank you so much, Herman, for your sharing. Really acknowledge,
Thank
and
you
this
so
is a
much.
precious
Thank you,
presentation. Bye
Cherry.
bye.